Tallboys and Trackmasters is brought to you by Expert Exhaust. Expect more for your money. MTB Shock Dock, your choice for suspension needs. And by Cycle Mart, your motorcycle parts store.
So I need to switch up to some white beer.
Truly is a tale as old as time. Whatever gets you to Whitfield.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 44 of Tallboys
and Trackmasters. What are you drinking, buddy?
Some kind of seltzery energy drink. I got about 3 hours of sleep today, so it's going to be a struggle for me.
Well, that's 2 hours of sleep in a can.
Yeah. I'd rather it be a pork chop in a can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 1.5 pork chop cans personally.
Got to make sure you get your protein and carbohydrates all in one shot.
Yep. Mineral water. Very, very healthy.
Mineral water is good for you.
Yep.
So what's new, man? Anything good going
on? Not really. Just kind of waiting on some better weather. Can't wait to get back out, get riding again. The usual, you know.
Love it.
We're at the tail end of winter. I've ran out of like maintenance and little bike projects and stuff to occupy my time. So
I'm about
2 more months, maybe.
About there myself. All right. Well, episode 44, Closure Conundrum. We seem to have a influx, maybe not really an influx, at least. It seems like it's getting more media attention here recently with some pretty major areas for our type of recreation that we do, unfortunately, hitting the chopping block and getting closed. So we're going to touch on that tonight. We got a couple special guests that'll be joining us here shortly. The first thing we're going to talk about, though, is the closures over in a place that, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of us is on the bucket list, and we better hurry up and get out there before it's all gone. And that's Moab. So, you know, that the entire state of Utah is very interesting. Over 47% of the land in Utah is actually managed by the Bureau of Land Management. So the BLM is an interesting body, in my opinion, because you have so much area and stuff that needs to be managed and controlled that it's not really feasible for the state level to do it. So the feds get involved. And what usually happens when the federal government gets involved with something?
What is it? Hey, we're from the government. We're here to help. The most terrifying word someone can hear.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case. So, just kind of go down through what the most recent closure is. So, 317 miles of the BLM land northwest of Moab has been closed. That is 28% of all the trails in the Labyrinth Rims Gemini Bridges travel management area. That's a mouthful. Those trails include Day Canyon Point, Hey Joe Canyon, Mashed Potatoes, 10 Mile Canyon, Hell Roaring Canyon, Mineral Canyon, 7 Up Trail, and 2 out of the 3 overlooks over on Dead Man Point. So in reality, that's pretty much all the area that's accessible around the Green River outside of Moab. And, you know, it's unfortunate that there seems to be the stigma or the solution for any type of issues when it comes to utilizing land just seems to be closure, which really just aggravates the hell out of me. It seems like nobody can come together and just sit down and try to come up with a solution that's good for everybody. They just take the easy option out, which is to just close.
It's very difficult to argue the value of outdoor recreation to someone who doesn't have any interest in it. And a lot of the people on the boards that make these decisions don't have any interest in it. They see no value in it. It's, I don't know. I don't have any better solutions, but as time goes on, you're going to see everything close to the point where the only thing you're allowed to do is sit in your little 400 square foot apartment that you pay $3,000 a month for, and watch Netflix. That'll be all you're allowed to do. That's the direction it's going. It's like an outlawing of fun, but in the same breath, we'll touch on it, I'm sure, is some of the stuff that's gone on out there as popularity has increased is trail damage, people going off trails in sensitive ecological areas, the litter, burned out, trashed out vehicles just being left on trail. And it's a couple bad apples spoil it for the whole bunch. But yeah, I wish there was some kind of resolution that could be worked towards where, it's not an all or nothing type end game.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part is I don't think these outside groups that have that controlling interest in keeping trails open, they don't really see the positive impacts that people like us and Tread Lightly and so many other types of organizations try to put out there. It's obviously the bad eggs in the egg carton are the ones that come to the surface, and it's what's shown. And one question that I saw in doing a little bit of research about the Moab situation is this guy brought up a really good point: is are they a victim of their own success?
Yeah, I mean,
obviously, if you look at it, Moab only has like 5,000 permanent residents that are there all year long. So the majority of people that are in the city are tourists. They're there for that motorized recreation, and the pandemic didn't help matters because people were looking for something to do even more than the usual traffic that's there at Moab.
I experienced that firsthand with trying to camp during 2020, and people that looked like they'd never touched grass in their life decided that they were going to get out in the boonies for the first time to escape the cities and whatnot. But I mean, yeah, I think you could definitely argue it's a victim of its own success. I remember, not that I'm particularly old, but I remember when there really wasn't much outside of forums online for the off-road community. You'd see like Peterson's 4-Wheel and Off-Road would do the Ultimate Adventure or something like that. And that was most of like my, I guess, exposure to Moab or the idea of Moab and everything. But now it's like you hit the Explore page on Instagram and it's just nothing but, it's like everybody that owns a Jeep or a Toyota has been to Moab and posted about it. And anytime something becomes that popular, you're gonna have issues.
Yeah. Something that we were kind of discussing a little bit about this too off camera was there's a very fine line, in my opinion, between, kind of a necessary gatekeeping. That term is used a little bit in this situations of, you're not really wanting everybody to know about these awesome trails or awesome areas just because you feel like this is what's going to happen is the word's going to get out, and then all the bad people and the wrong types of people are going to get in those areas and then shut it down for everybody. Yeah. I struggle with that too of, not posting stuff up and keeping a whole bunch of, private property trails or little known trails that I know about from becoming something that everybody and their brother wants to run versus, not doing that and wanting the new people in the sport or new people to experience those areas too. So I struggle with that myself.
That's something I struggle with too. On surface level, yes, gatekeeping is bad, right? That's the, actively trying to keep newcomers out of the hobby just for the sake of keeping them out of the hobby is not right. But when you start looking out at like land use and starting to realize that, the more people that are involved in it, the more potential there is for bad apples, the more likely it is that things start to get closed. It does become a really hard balance to strike between one and the other. Like, I absolutely want to share my hobby with other people. That's evident. But if it's at the expense of my ability to go out and enjoy it, that's when it starts to become a little bit of a more of a pressing question,
Yeah, absolutely.
And, some people might think that sounds selfish and whatnot, but I mean, if it's happening in Moab, it's happening in countless places. As it becomes more popular, as the hobby becomes more accessible to people that might not necessarily have the same amount of respect for the land and everything that you do, that's when things really become a problem. You get people littering, purposefully tearing stuff up, people taking wrong turns and whatnot, and then instead of turning around, decide I'm going to cut the fence. That's a surefire way to really anger some people, especially in this state.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what do you do though?
Yeah, there's not really a good solution in my opinion. You just try to kind of pick your battles and maintain what you can, because in our state of West Virginia, I think our biggest issue is against landowners who think that they own county roads or right of ways or things of that nature. And maybe Papaw put that gate up on that county road 40 years ago. Yep. Well, he didn't own it whenever he put that gate up. So, obviously we have had some successes, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few minutes. But, it's an ever going battle to just maintain what you have, let alone trying to open up new areas.
Yeah, I hear, not here. I've personally experienced something that was pretty ridiculous. We were out riding on a railroad grade that had been sold off to the DOH that was marked as just county road. This is like up in Mon County or something like that. And, we got yelled at by the landowner. It's not gated or anything, just ride along. And his rationale was he owned it because he mowed the grass on it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if that's the case, then I'm going to start mowing grass on a bunch of old strip mine property and everywhere else. If that's all it takes to stake your claim, then
what will we refer that to as eminent clibbing domain?
Eminent clibbing domain. I like that.
Yeah. Put that on a t-shirt.
Domain. But show me a deed.
Yeah.
Because I've got multiple maps that say otherwise. It's not like I only checked one source and then went along with it. But that's definitely the biggest issue in this state currently. But you give it some time as more of these people move in from metropolitan areas like DC, Maryland, etc. We will be having our own land rights battles like Moab is, and that's just the simple truth as things progress.
Yeah. Well, speaking of our state, we got a special guest with us here tonight who is somebody that I've worked with extensively through the Country Roads Coalition to help maintain what we have and try to open up new areas. So without further ado, let's bring on the infamous Brian Holmes.
See that Maynard koozie?
I like that, buddy.
Yeah.
You got fighting for us, isn't it? What's going on, man?
Oh, not too much. Just hanging out. We've been having a busy winter, and it's been a good one. Got back there a couple weeks ago from Broxton Bridge. I went down there with my buddy Gabby, and we ran some single track down there. I think we were probably over 100 miles, solid 100 miles of trail. It's connected by a little bit of pavement here and there, but the mileage I think was like 140 some miles we got in before Sunday when we packed up and headed home. So that was fun. It's always good to go down there and get a little bit of sunshine and camp out and all that jazz. So that was a good time. You were talking a little bit there about Moab, and I did want to interject just a little bit of commentary that I've from some work that I've done with our buddy Jerry Bain, which Jamie's very familiar with. one of the things that Jerry always would tell people involved in the state was, whether you're ready for them or not, they're coming. And so either we preemptively prepare for that, or we let it take us by surprise, and we end up, kind of in the Moab situation, where we, haven't got things in place to handle, the crowds and to handle revenue streams and all sorts of different things. And so you're going to have people that want to be guides, and you're going to have tour guides. Well, we've drug our feet on legislation for tour guides every year now. Their previous legislation sunset, and then they never really followed up with anything. And so that just is kind of really some of the challenges that I think that West Virginia is setting itself up for. But at the same time, I do want to say that a lot of times you can have some, grassroots people that are making an impact, and that's a lot of what the, Country Roads Coalition is really making an impact, because they're trying to teach preemptively, stewardship for land that hasn't been traditionally taught in this area or in our recreational pastimes. So, I think that that's important for really trying to be able to make sustainable growth in these markets.
That's an awesome point. So let's touch a little bit more on the Country Roads Coalition and what they do and what you do, honestly, for the dual sport side of things, and who are the major players in the organization.
Sure. So major players in the organization, we'll start at the top with Jerry Bain. And so this is really his brainchild that he's put together. He's been working for years to build a network of enthusiasts that are also capable of being, good representatives and good stewards, and being able to process some of the data that we look at through the Country Roads Coalition. And so Jerry's, we call him the chairman. In all honesty, like the entire organization, we're, pretty much a Facebook group, but we're actually a really organized Facebook group. So there's, we avoid legal organization for multiple reasons. And so then we have Mark Maynard, who is our legislative liaison. So he isn't really directly affiliated with us as an organization in our agenda. He's there to kind of bring to us what the politicians are saying and take from us to the politicians what we're saying. And so he kind of tries to, help us a little bit in the places that we fall short as far as, political speak and whatnot. Then we've got my good buddy Marcus Yonker, recently joined us, and he is the administrative officer. And so basically his job is to keep us organized and on task, which is really challenging when you have the gang that we have. All very brilliant people, all have very great ideas, but we do a lot of big thinking, and sometimes we, miss the target whenever we realize that we had some focused work that needed done. So Marcus keeps us on task, keeps us organized. He handles a lot of our clerical details. So we're ramping up for adventure travel days at the legislature, and that's something that's directly put on by the Country Roads Coalition. And so Marcus handles like all the RSVPs and emails to the participants, and making sure that people get in touch with the people that they need to be in touch with. So he does a great job of that.
Yeah, speaking of that real quick, FDSR will be down there for West Virginia Adventure Travel Day.
Excellent.
And your two favorite podcast hosts will be there, hopefully getting some good interviews there too. So thanks
good.
For
we look forward to seeing you guys there. Make sure you stop by the Infamous Adventures booth and get you one of these snazzy bracelets that Marcus made for us.
I would not miss it.
Yeah. So going on down the roster, we have our good friend Nico Bowden, who's he's our full-size representative. So he takes care of he's our full-size club representative, and so he kind of represents the interests of the of organized clubs in the state of West Virginia. And he does a lot of our PR work, so he's really good with like making flyers and stuff. So he does a lot of our flyer work. He also is really resourceful, and if we need a PA system, he hooks us up. He takes care of a lot of our odds and ends. Really great guy. let's see. And then we've got our good friend Eric Larch. Eric Larch is the owner of Mountain Made side-by-sides. And so they do like custom roll cages and Nerf bars and equipment like that, aftermarket sales. And actually, I'll put a little plug in for him. He can get dirt bike tires. So if you know anyone needing dirt bike tires that want to buy locally, he's down around Kenna. Yeah. And he's always been really good to help out.
Yeah, if we could get a deal on a whole pallet of Trackmasters, that would be fantastic.
Let him know. He actually 2 years ago for the rally, I needed tires on my BMW and they weren't going to be here in time. And I complained about it in a conversation that he was in. And he's like, hey, and sent me a link and was like, can you use any of these tires? And so I picked out something. He's like overnighted them to me. And so like they were there the next morning. I'm just like, man, yeah. So he definitely, helped me out. And so Eric takes care of the side-by-side interests, and so he does a lot of legwork with, kind of going between us and the side-by-side community and trying to, and also trying to foster a positive culture in the side-by-side community. One of the, responsibility with, cleaning up trash, and it's really great because I was riding with you boys, and there was a whole group of side-by-sides in the woods, and that was the first time I saw side-by-sides with like the trash bags on the back. That was a year or two ago, I think. And, it was just really cool to see things progress like that because it used to be nobody carried a trash bag. Yeah. So Eric does that, and he also is kind of a little bit of like he's a specialist in street legalizing your UTV or Jeep or whatever you want to put SPV tags on. He's kind of a specialist in that. So he does sell kits like that for side-by-sides, but he's really gone to bat for us a lot with that and helped a lot with that. So let's see. Then we've got our good buddy Thomas Burton. And so Thomas Burton is he owns West Virginia Overland, and he does a lot of different recon trainings and does some military training. Then he also does some guided tours, I do believe. So he does a lot of different stuff involving overland, very active. And he's very resourceful. He's an excellent asset to our team. And so that's what he does is kind of takes the overland perspective. And we brought on board also his friend, Chris Shannon. And Chris is kind of our camping czar. He camps out a lot. And so his role is, to just kind of keep us abreast of anything that, he may learn as far as camping, whether it be, closures or access issues, or whether it be, places to camp that, are off grid that we, nobody really had record of. And so that's kind of what he works on. Geez. You guys really put me on the spot. If any of those guys watch this and I don't get everyone involved, I think I got everyone except for me. And so with what I do with the organization is I'm their GIS advisor. And so anytime that we have a mapping issue or a road closure issue, I'm generally able to confirm that pretty easily from, if someone can just send me a screenshot of their, location or whatever, and I can confirm it with the West Virginia mapping sources and figure out whether or not it's actually legal right of way that, is worth our effort or not. And then in additional to that, I am the adventure bike and dual sport rep. And so I make sure that our constituency is heard and represented in the coalition.
Awesome, man. What would you say are some successes that you've seen us have in the state of West Virginia when it comes to trail openings, closings, and what do you see in the future might be some big challenges we've got coming down the pipe?
Sure. I think that some of the big successes that we've had was really getting pushing the DOH on a gate policy. So they really did not have a gate policy. They almost treated it like a down tree. So like if there was a gate on a road and, they weren't going to come get it, but they weren't going to ask, let anyone come take care of it either. And so we kind of made some headway with them, holding their feet to the fire because they kept wanting to say, well, these are all county roads that are unimproved. And so their point was coming and removing a gate would be an improvement on an unimproved road. And we don't do any work to an unimproved road. But in fact, we challenged them with multiple gates that were on maintained county roads. And so at that point, they were forced to really have to make a response. And so their legal department kind of had a back and forth with our chairman, Jerry Bain. And eventually they kind of came to, a solution. And it's actually a pretty decent policy. And we have actually, seen it enforced. And I think that, one of our biggest success stories is probably Tallboy technician James Wright. Because I think that you have probably the most gates taken down of anybody. So it's been, that's really been awesome to see. I think that some of the challenges that we're going to see in the future is primarily going to be similar to what I heard you guys talking about earlier with, people from out of state purchasing land and stuff. I think that, a lot of people don't do their due diligence whenever they purchase a piece of property. And they may think that it's an old logging road running across their property, but it may in fact be a county road. I've actually seen instances of like houses built on portions of county road before. And so that really puts you into, a lot of liability. And I don't think that, I think that people coming from an outside culture will not understand the local side-by-side G motorcycle culture that's pretty active. And, out there almost every weekend. And so, there's going to be some issues there, I think. I think we also may have some issues at some point with, I'm afraid that we're going to end up seeing some stuff with like corporations. So we're actually seeing that like a little bit down in around Marlinton area, and Richwood area. And so there's like mines down there that will actually like grade under the county road. And they'll put up like road closed signs, even though it's still like legal county road. And I'm not sure exactly what authority they have to do that. They may have some authority. I don't know. But to me, if the state's publishing and saying that this is a legal county road, and then, there's somebody up there with a guard shack and a sign that says, road closed, it seems to me that there needs to be some sorting out involved. And so I think that that's going to be another thing that we see as West Virginia gets industrialized a little bit more.
Those are all great points. Trevor, you got anything for Brian?
No, that's pretty spot on with the way that I think stuff's going to head too. Another thing is like the push for renewables or whatever, and like carbon offsets continues. You're going to see large swaths of wooded areas being bought by these companies that do carbon offsets and whatnot.
Yes. And because we're cheap land.
Exactly, especially if it's landlocked out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can feel good and get the save the environment stuff out of their system or whatever. But these corporations are absolutely going to try to restrict use to those areas that they purchase.
And that's exactly what we saw happen over at the Ritchie Mines, which last I heard, I guess it ended up being kind of a fiasco. They bought all that and did all that. They didn't realize the stinking pipeline ran across it. And so I'm not sure if they can get their money back out of it or not. It's kind of a stalemate. But yeah, like speaking of due diligence, people purchase property sight unseen and, they don't realize what they're getting into in the state of West Virginia. There's oil and gas used to be different around here.
Stuff at one point, and we had instances of people buying and building houses over like 24-inch high pressure gas lines that was like extremely obvious where it ran through the property. So don't put it past them.
No.
Brian, for those that may be not familiar with the processes and everything of the CRC, say you're one of us on a dual sport and you're going down a county road that you've been on a million times, and all of a sudden you see a gate popped up there. What should be that person's next steps to trying to mitigate that situation and get the gate taken down?
So in a perfect world where we're self-sufficient, people should be using the SWOT reporting program, which is a software through the DOH's website. And so we'll ask you some questions like, the location of the obstruction, pictures, different things like that. And so originally this was instituted for the use of like potholes and things that needed fixed within districts. And so each district kind of gets their SWOT stuff triaged to them, and then it's handled at a local level. So whenever we, work things out with the DOH, that was their preferred method. Was they would like us to put in, SWAT, so they have documentation of it, and they also have a point of contact. And so the SWAT should be the first action. I will say that there have been instances where SWAT has not entirely been effective, and we've had to redo SWATs, and we've had to involve other people, and so that's the point that you're getting ignored or getting an answer that is incorrect. That's the time to reach out to the CRC, the County Roads Coalition. They're accessible on Facebook primarily, and reach out to one of the members there, and they can try to put a little bit more pressure on. We do have some contacts within the state, and that we keep in touch with. So we're able to kind of put the pressure where the pressure needs to be held. If it's something at a local level that's not being taken care of appropriately. Yeah,
I just from my personal experience being the district rep for Marion and Mon County here, it's been a hit or miss for me. And I will say that it seemed like every time that I would submit a SWAT report for an illegal gate that we knew was 100% illegal, I would get an email back from a different person representing our district in the DOH. So I've found that recently the lady that's been handling it here recently has 100% been doing her job to the T.
Good.
I've been very, very happy with it. But to start out with, I cannot remember the lady's name, and I like to throw people completely under the bus, but if I had her name, I probably would say it.
I remember some things about that.
She just would blow it off and just not want to deal with it, whatever. But, obviously here recently, and matter of fact, I had a guy that I work with was talking about a gate closure on a road right outside of Metz here in Marion County.
Mm-hmm.
Went through the process with him. We submitted it, and the Department of Highways actually did go out there and remove that gate. So
that's terrific.
Yeah.
And, if you'd told us, 5 years ago that we'd have been able to achieve this, what you just said, being able to go out and remove an illegal gate. If you told us 5 years ago, I'd have probably said, nah, I don't think so. Because it's been a brick wall in the state of West Virginia for decades. There was a thread dedicated to road closures in West Virginia on Adventure Rider because it was that big of a problem. They called it Death Row, and they just list whatever great road had just got lost. A gate or a new company that closed it down or graded it under.
Well, that's a result of, I know, a lot of effort on your guys' part. So I'm a huge supporter of keeping publicly available areas open to the public.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that maybe a lot of people don't understand is, we're not asking you to start tearing down gates in the Mon National Forest and letting us just ramp through there. We're talking about county roads that we pay taxes for, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the DOH's argument a lot around here was, well, that's an unmaintained road.
Mm-hmm.
Great, keep it unmaintained. I don't want it maintained. I like it the way it is. I just want the access.
Maintain it less.
At the end of the day, someone's illegally blocking a right of way.
Yeah.
If a vehicle was parked there in the middle of the road, what would you do?
Yeah. So that's good stuff, man. I really thank you for coming on there and shedding some light about what's going on in our state. What else you got going on, maybe with your business and stuff, Brian?
Yeah, sure. So with Infamous Adventures, we've actually been really busy. This past weekend was our 2024 planning session. So Marcus Yonker, my chief ambassador, came over here to Davis to stay with me. We'd actually had plans to go ski and snowboard, but we ended up riding motorcycles instead because the weather was 50-some degrees. And so it worked out really well because we were able to get out and proof a little bit. So the next set of routes, since I'm ever so creative, this is the NIMAT that we're working on. And so this is the Northern IMAT. And so it has a little bit of trail in the Mon, but not not a whole lot, but it kind of finishes up the north half of the Mon, so that, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to, you know, we will span the entire length of the Mon. Is kind of the goal of the IMAT series. And so we were able to get out and proof a really, really great route. Ended up in Terra Alta, ate at the brewery there at High Ground Brewing. That was a really good experience, really great people there. And by the time we got done with the route, we got back to the house, I was like, this is 80 or 90% done. So I've already been in and tried to, you know, dress up the couple places that I wanted to see if I could find a little more gravel to throw at us. But it's going to be a really great route series. We're really excited to be able to roll that out this coming summer. So keep your eyes peeled for it. It'll be another free set of tracks from Infamous Adventures, iadv.info. And so another thing that we've been working on, Marcus and I were working on doing some planning for our 2024 IADV Live, which is our, some would call it a guided tour, but I like to call it a facilitated adventure, because it's a little bit more immersive than just, you know, taking you to see the things, you know. We usually try to get local culture involved, and a lot of the, you know, really unique stops and things like that worked into our tours. So the tickets are now live for IADV Live, and we've actually already sold 2 the day that we listed. So I've got some repeat customers from my previous event that had a good enough time that they thought they'd come back and have another round of it. And so the dates are, it's October, I believe, 3rd through 7th. So check-in's October 3rd, which is a Thursday, if I'm thinking correctly. Yes. And then the 7th is a Monday. So, you know, that gives people that, you know, if they are pooped out from riding on Sunday, they want to spend an extra night, they can spend an extra night. So that is something that we're offering, and we really enjoy offering. And then I've also been, over the weekend, we visited with Christopher Burke from the Blackwater Adventure Rally. So he came up and had dinner with us, and we talked a little bit about some of the stuff that we're going to be doing with the Adventure Rally. So I think last year we had like 16 routes. I'd look for us to add probably 3 or more routes. One will be another challenging route. So I think that we'll have at least probably, I think, 4 routes that are really geared more towards single cylinder riding. You know, a lot of it can be done on a multi-cylinder bike, just depending on how challenging you like to ride. So we'll be offering a little bit more in the way of single cylinders, hopefully, and then I think that we might also try to incorporate a little bit of street stuff, because I find that a lot of people really appreciate, you know, just some of the simple street riding around that area. Not everybody wants to go out and bomb gravel all day, every day. So I'm trying to throw that option at them a little bit, and so I'm really looking forward to that. And I know that Chris has been doing a lot of planning. I'm really looking forward to his event this year. Last year, I ended up with COVID. And so I only got to, like, I spent the first night there, and I was so bummed because, like, I had, like, this corner back there of all my friends, you know. So, like, I had my buddies from Charleston that came up, my buddies from the Ohio Valley that came over, Peter and Tiffany that used to work for the AMA, they came. And so we all had this, you know, corner in the back, and it was just going to be a big old party. And then I ended up sicker than a dog and had to go home Friday morning and lay in my bed and die. So I'm extra looking forward to this year.
Awesome. Well, Brian, we really appreciate you coming on, man, and touching on West Virginia's issues and the challenges and successes we've got. And look forward to working with you in the future, brother.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. Take care, guys. We'll see you.
See you.
Awesome. Well, next special guest is some of our biggest fans of the show, I would venture to say, and that is Miss Lisa and Mr. Rob. How are you two doing tonight?
Doing good. Half brow tonight and a moose knuckle.
Oh, that is a glorious koozie. I love that. So Lisa and Rob are New Jersey transplants who we're going to definitely affectionately call West Virginians now. I know that you posted up a thing on Facebook there a few days back talking about, I think it was the Wharton State Forest, that they were going to lose a lot of trails. And just talking to both of you guys when we first met on the first 3 or 4 detour, you guys explaining how New Jersey does their trail systems and things is just mind-blowing to me. So for the people that may not know, why don't you kind of give a brief overview of what the situation is in New Jersey right now when it comes to trail closures?
Okay, so basically in New Jersey, you have the Pine Barrens region, which is 1.3 million acres, smack dab in the middle of the state. If you look at the state on the map, you'll have this big green island in the middle. That's the Pine Barrens. Within the Pine Barrens, you have private property owners, some pretty big swaths and stuff. Some of the enduro clubs actually get permission to use their property to do trail on, but that's still regulated by the government, mind you, on private property. The rest of it is you have big portions of state forest. Morton being the largest of all the state forests over there. There's Brendan Burn, or as we know it as Lebanon, Bass River, and Penn State Forest that all would allow events to go through. See, a lot of the in New Jersey, dual sport events, enduros, and even some of the a lot of the adventure bike events stuff all went through on state land. Now, the majority, it wasn't an issue. Mind you, just real quick on that, the clubs to do these events, if you got more than 5 motorcycles together in New Jersey, you're supposed to have a special use permit. And that's even under attack now. So they would have to get special permits from the state before you can put an event on. Even if you're only using dirt roads, you could drive a pickup truck down any other day of the week. But currently what's happening now is those same public dirt roads you can use any day of the week in the largest state forest there. And that's how New Jersey tends to work. They tend to like to roll something out in one forest, and then before you know it, every forest has the same issue. But that's what they're doing right now is there's about 600 miles of dirt road in Morton State Forest, and they're chopping out about 60% of them right off the top. Now, they're not, eventually, if they get away with that, they're not going to stop there because
they never
I'd like to use New Jersey as an example of what not to do. Key thing there is don't let the environmentalists get a foothold in your state. And unfortunately, New Jersey has always been a losing battle with that because it always leaves you on the defensive. But long story short, for the Pine Barrens, that's pretty much the issue. We have a lot of dirt roads. There are no legal public single track trails in New Jersey. There are enduro trails that the clubs are allowed to use with permits, but that's even been greatly reduced over the years because we had over 600 miles of single track trail in the state at one point that was recognized back in the late 70s. But since then, they have chiseled that down to, I don't know, not even a tenth of that, if that even, not even that. So, it really, in the past 20 years, we've seen a massive ramp up in chronic attacks. It used to be every couple of years, and now it's just, we're always on our heels, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really starting to worry that West Virginia in the next decade or two is going to end up approaching the same point.
No.
I mean, I'll fight tooth and nail to avoid it, but it worries me. You said they don't stop with one forest, right? They don't stop with one state. They don't stop with one county. It's just like a continuous infection of these know-it-all environmentalists that think they're stewards of the land. Who's more of a steward of the land? Someone who, has an appreciation for that area, cleans up the trash when they come through there, etc., or someone who's never seen it in their life and never set foot outside their little stronghold.
But the thing is, they always because those people don't understand motorized recreation. Never mind the fact I've known people that are handicapped. The only way they could even get into the state forest, a couple of them hunters, was on ATVs because the guy's paralyzed from the waist down. I mean, you can't expect this man to walk in there and drag a deer out, but they don't care about that. They always pull the moral high ground because they don't do motorized activity. They don't understand it. A lot of them will go ski and they don't have a problem with that, and a lot of them, I always complain because New Jersey, mind you, has 6 golf courses they own. Now, we know golf courses aren't exactly, I don't have a problem with people golfing. That's your sport. That's your hobby. That's super awesome. But at the same token, the state's okay with that. They're okay with the environmental impact from all the small equipment, the fertilizers, you name it, that run off into the water, all the the manicuring of those lawns. But yet you can't ride a pickup truck or at one point, they tried to actually outlaw anything that can be construed as a dirt bike, which included factory street legal dual sport bikes and adventure bikes. So that's how hardcore that the state is over there on that. And a lot of it comes back to, with New Jersey anyway, is that the people that are in a lot of these decision-making processes over there, they're in the Department of Environmental Protection, and those people aren't elected; they're appointed. So that's one saving grace I see here in West Virginia a lot is you do have appointed people, but you have a lot of people that have to answer to you. And in New Jersey, we've literally gotten the answer in the past from the DEP when we had questioned, why are you doing this? Because it's very a lot of the stuff they do there is extremely hypocritical. It's like, none for you guys, everything for these guys. So very hypocritical. And when you ask them, they literally DEP, like they told us because we can. What can you do with that? Because we can. What can you can't fight that. So it's the saving grace I've seen here is that when you go on the like I've seen when somebody complains on some of the Facebook group sites, someone will complain about there was an ATV here or whatever like that, and the amount of people that jump on them, West Virginia residents that jump on them that basically bash them for making fun of like picking on the kid. Like, well, at least he's not doing a lot of people say at least he's not doing drugs, he's doing this, he's out having a good time, leave him alone. You don't see that in New Jersey, so that's kind of a saving grace here is that the people on the whole here like their ATVs or side-by-sides and their motorized recreation. That's missing in New Jersey. I got to
feel like it was a pretty big shell shock for you guys coming from that restrictive of an environment to down here in the good old state of West Virginia.
Well, the big part of the reason why we moved is because after poking around and asking people, including you guys, asking people over the years, what do you need for permits? And that's the thing over there. It's like even on private property, the state can tell you if you can or cannot have an event there. It doesn't matter. You got 1,500 acres, you can't have an event there because you don't have X amount of whatever developmental credits. It'll blow your mind, this stuff. Anyway, but they can also, if they do let you have a event there, then they want to come on the property and inspect it. And this is just short story. This is how ridiculous it is. There was a sand plant company out there that would let one of the enduro clubs host events there. This portion of woods that they put their trail in was going to be dug down to the water table and be underwater the following year. The state still wanted to come out and inspect the woods that they used for the event. What the heck does it matter if it's going to be underwater next year? This
bureaucratic nonsense.
That's what you're dealing with.
My life, I've dealt a lot with natural gas pipelines and stuff like that, and dealing with the DEP and the EPA both on a regular basis, you come to understand the people enforcing a lot of these laws don't even have any understanding beyond, well, this is what they told us to do, or this is my job. No one puts the critical thought, to stop and try to think about like what you just explained. If it's going to be dug below the water table next year, what's it matter?
Exactly.
I dealt with stuff like that on a regular basis. That's an aspect of that job I definitely don't miss. But those people are still out there, and apparently most of them are in New Jersey currently, trying to enforce the rule book.
Third largest Sierra Club membership in all of North America. They're over there in New Jersey. But so the key thing, I think, a big takeaway that we can really bring into West Virginia. Okay, so one of the saving graces in New Jersey. Now, mind you, a lot of the problems there, because I will say there is too much of a good thing sometimes, and I'm not talking about the enduro clubs because the enduro clubs have given back a lot over the years. And I mean, like the state forest managers would actually use the clubs to build bridges, put in hiking trails, clean stuff, you name it. Whatever they asked, the enduro clubs would do. They put in 7 miles of trail the one time. Yeah,
hiking trails. We built a bridge for them. Multiple cleanups.
Yeah,
tree plantings.
Yeah, and you never see the environmental people at any of these cleanups or any of this stuff ever.
No.
Yeah. So I think one of the key things has managed the fact that they've managed to hold on to enduros and dual sports and legal events even on not just private property but on public state forest land, which was written into the master plan for all that land that allow motorized activity. The state keeps magically chiseling at it and trying to make it disappear, but the only reason why it hasn't completely disappeared long ago is because there's enduro clubs there, and there's about 10 or 11 clubs there alone that have been fighting this, and they're part of the East Coast Enduro Association, which pulls from another 10 or so clubs outside of the state between Maryland. There's Green Marble Enduro Riders out of Maryland, all these clubs in PA and some clubs up in New York and stuff. So when there's a problem in one area, those clubs, everybody, the whole association jumps on that problem and tries to resolve it, and put up at least some fights. That's the biggest problem I've noticed. Number one, not to let it get to that point, okay, where you're always on your heels, that you're always waiting for them to hit you over the head again, which is what happens there chronically. There's no amount of good press over there, because the people that live over there aren't the same as the folks out here that like to enjoy the woods. A lot of people over there that enjoy the woods, they think they're going out to the wilderness, and let's be honest, it's New Jersey. It's the most densely populated state in the country. You're never that far away from hearing a car off in the distance. But the enduro clubs, motorcycling clubs, are a big part of it, because usually they're the guys that have their ears to the ground and hear things. And because they're organized enough, they're also the first ones that usually respond to anytime the state tries to pass stupid legislation, which is going to restrict people access to their public land. People always forget that. They say state forest, but no, it's public forest.
Yeah.
And they're always trying to find ways that the weasel. Matter of fact, they just this past weekend, the one state forest manager in Warren denied a hiking event or like a foot race?
It was a foot race.
A foot race.
And he denied the permit for
There's
it.
no engines. There's no bicycles, no wheels. A foot race. He denied a foot race on state land. Like, this is the idiocracy that they're dealing with over there. You can't win.
Nuts.
But clubs being organized is massive. And I kind of hope that we can at some point bring something like that down here, because those are usually the problem is all the ATV and side-by-side guides, well, really it goes back to ATV guys. They lost access already back, late 80s, early 90s to state land, because they were never organized. And that's what gets you killed with the environmentalists, is that if you're not organized, you got like one guy over here screaming, one guy over there crying, it's
I mean, that's the same conclusion that we came to some years ago, was we needed to get all the dual sport adventure guys, Jeep guys, side-by-side guys, as many people as possible on one page, and try to face off against what's coming together as a group, as opposed to a bunch of, like you said, individual groups that alone are ineffectual.
That's one thing I'll give the CRC credit for, was bringing all those groups together, because it was everybody was fighting their own battles individually as a sport or hobby, when they realized, hey, we're all riding the same stuff together, so there's no reason for us not to get together. There's strength in numbers, like you mentioned there. So it's insane to think. It's a different world for us growing up here as compared to what
lucky.
Experienced in New Jersey. Yeah, lucky. Lucky is a good word.
Lucky.
I mean, that's like
Virginia
a
for the reason.
totalitarian mindset that I can't fathom even trying to live there. That's crazy.
To be able to be to be a rider there, you basically have to be a lobbyist first and a rider second, because it's gotten that bad. Like I said, they've literally tried like discriminating against what vehicles can even go out on a dirt road out there in the past. Like, you could pretty much take a car or a pickup truck out there, but you couldn't take a 250-pound, or 300-pound DRZ 400 out there. Like, why? But you can take a Goldwing out there, because that's not a dirt bike. It's just, but the thing is, like, literally, we've gone to these meetings where people ask, are they going to be riding their Harleys out there? We're like, wow. It
was a motocross track that was going to be built.
That never got built, mind you.
Got built, and one of the people stood up and asked if Harley's going to be riding out there on the track.
This is, but West by God, Virginia. So far, the key thing is just to stay proactive and make sure that any of that kind of dissent from that crowd gets squashed immediately. Yeah. Don't let them get a foothold in the state. And when I see you guys when you have when you have all the OHV people together over at, Charleston, I've heard, that's coming up soon, isn't it?
Yeah, February 16th. It will be now.
Okay. That to me is huge, because, the last time I went to Trenton, which is the capital of New Jersey, it was for basically a picketing rally outside of the Department of Environmental Protection, because they're trying to pass some dumb stuff like this before. So it wasn't like we're having nice conversations with these folks. It was like angry mob. So like seeing you guys actually be able to interact and like talk with state legislators, and to protect it. And I think a lot of them see the value in the tourism with it. We've even, back in New Jersey, we've thrown at them, because they always ask, well, give us a good example of another state. And, you can give them any state that's done it well or done it right. And they'll always deny, well, that state's not exactly like New Jersey one. Well, no state's exactly like New Jersey. But, yeah, thank God. Oh my God. Yeah. But I was going to say though, like what you guys have working here with them, they see the value in it. Over there, it's really come down to, I noticed a lot of the legislators, at least in New Jersey, is that it doesn't matter even if there's an incentive of making money with it. They just don't want to be bothered. So they'll pass redundant laws on top of redundant laws, look like they're doing something, but not actually do anything, not enforce anything. They don't have the money for enforcement. And it's really just making it look like they're doing something, but at the end of the day, they don't even care. They don't even care about the money. They just don't want to deal with it. So their answer to everything is make it illegal. So that's
the easy
fact.
way
You guys
out.
have you got a talking relationship with the legislators is massive. That's
Awesome.
That's the first stuff.
That's great. We thank you guys for sharing all that. Y'all ready for Saturday?
Yeah, more or less. We got a TV coming. And me and Rob are a little technology stupid. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Like GPSs, we're used to following arrows on trees, and roll charts and watches. Yeah.
Same here. It's taking me a while to transition over to digital stuff. For those of you who don't know, the Back Roads of Appalachia has a 24-hour rally that's happening Saturday, going from Seneca Rocks clear to Point Pleasant all the way across the state of West Virginia. 613 miles, I think it is total. And I'll be trading the 2 wheels in for the 4 wheels this weekend and taking part in that event. So and so will Rob and Lisa. They'll be down there too. You guys taking the Blazer?
Oh yeah, barring any issues,
Between now
and Saturday, because no matter how much you work on a Blazer, it's still a Blazer. Especially when it's a Blazer with 200,000 plus miles on it. But I don't really want to scratch up the other vehicle in the Blazer. Well, that's my big side by side. I love that truck.
Well, you guys need to stay tuned too, because I know he's doing one in the summertime that's open to motorcycles. So look for that.
Oh, doesn't mean I gotta have a GPS though. Because I
don't think so.
You just follow the rider in front of you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's something this guy looks like he's with us. I'll just follow that guy.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing what's going on in New Jersey with us. We appreciate it as always, and thank you for being loyal watchers of our podcast. Appreciate it.
No, and appreciate you guys for doing this, and I appreciate being in West Virginia because it's a hell of a lot better here. I'll tell you, than it is over there. So much better.
Well, you're definitely welcome here.
Yep. All right, guys. Appreciate it, and I'll see you down there Saturday.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
That's insane, man, to think that that's what's going on up there. Wow.
I got a few words. It's not in my state. Nope, you can do it all. You can do it all you want in whatever little weirdo city you live in or whatever. You ain't gonna come here and do it. This is, for whether or not your kids are going to have access to recreational areas, and your grandkids and stuff like that. It's beyond us.
I hear a lot of people refer to our state as being a hidden gem. I know we've talked about it before, and I agree with it. And I've also heard people say that they want this state to become the Moab of the East Coast. And
I don't know.
Going to Moab now, I don't know if that's what I want here, honestly.
Yeah, we're already witnessing the what work from home has done to the housing market in a lot of these rural areas. So I don't. It doesn't give me the warm, fuzzy feelings.
Yep. Let's go through some of these comments that we had here tonight. First one, got a couple from YouTube. Tri-State Dual Sports and Mr. Holmes, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, it's always good to get Brian on.
Oh yeah.
Roger Hupp says, in my life, I've seen a lot of camel toes, but never seen one on a camel. Pauly Shore. I think he was talking about Lisa's awesome koozie she had there.
Yep.
And last one we got here from Roger too. She's wearing a 90s Blackwater. Yeah, if you're not familiar with them, that's Blackwater royalty there. I think she's a founding member of the team FAH-Q, the old Tommy Norton Blackwater team. Fall Q Racing.
Speaking of Blackwater, that was another instance of the environmentalists grabbing a hold of something and choking all the life out of it.
You know, there's a lot of factors when it comes to the Blackwater 100 situation. Yes, the DEP did have a hand in it. They were tired of all the pollution into the Blackwater River, but I would say that probably 75% of the reason that got shut down is because it was just getting out of hand. It was getting out of control, and Dave Coombs and everybody at Racer Productions could not keep a handle on it, and it was just
once you got to the point at the 93 River crossing or whatever, they started damming it up to make it deeper and throwing beer cans at the riders and everything else. It starts to definitely fits the definition of getting out of hand.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors there, but I would say that was the main one, is just the absolute insanity that it became. Now, it was a great time. It made for some awesome video that I know we both like to watch once in a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You get to a situation like that, it's just, you just can't handle it anymore. Yeah. Let's go through some industry news. I got a few cool things to talk about here this evening. Suzuki goes retro. The V-Strom 800DE returns with its old school, I'm going to butcher this, I'm going to call it the Jezebel model. The Jebel model. I got a picture of this thing, man. This really sweet to see these manufacturers go with the retro look. That is totally mid-90s DR 800, another awesome bike that we didn't get over here in the United States. Total motif of that. It has the upgraded graphics, a little bit better suspension, and the Akrapovic exhaust from the factory. Next on the list is the 2023 KLX 230, which is their kind of middling entry-level dual sport bike, air-cooled.
You call it that?
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty decent little package for what it is. An air-cooled 230-some cc single. Pretty bare bones machine, very affordable. They improved the suspension greatly, which would have been my biggest gripe about it. And, modernized the overall look. Beyond just bold new graphics, the plastics make it look a lot better. It's like KX styling. And I mean, for an entry-level dual sport that's low maintenance, I think that'd be a great option.
Yeah, it comes in a really awesome gray color too. I love the look of that. Yeah, a little bit taller suspension, some adjustments to the subframe and the swing arm to make it handle stuff off for a little bit better. Has Bluetooth connectivity and some upgraded switchable ABS, which is a lot of features for an entry-level bike like that, I think.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of features for a model year change too. Typically, you see that when they roll out like the new, complete new redesign or whatever. But this is kind of a, generational model change.
Yeah,
I was surprised to see that.
Yep. And last but certainly not least, moto campers rejoice. There's a new option for you when you're out there trying to moto camp and tent on your trail side. This is a new product from Haven. You get the best of both worlds and or the worst of both worlds. It's a combination tent and hammock setup. So this gives you the option to either hammock camp or stake it to the ground and tent camp all in one package. I will say it is extremely pricey for what it is.
I figured as much. My moto camping's done out of like a 10 I got for $40 on sale. I've tried the hammock thing, but it's not quite for me.
I can't do it either, man. I've tried it several times, and it sucks because that's like one of the most packing friendly ways to try to moto camp, but I just can't do it.
Yeah, after you get the rain fly, the bug net, the hammock, the underquilt, and everything, you're at pretty much the same volume and same weight as a small tent. I know motocampnerd.com has some great options for, I think there's a company called Kelty, a little 2-person tent, but the poles are really short. The pole segments are only like 8 inches, which is my biggest gripe of the tent that I have, is the poles are like 18 inches long. But it's made specifically for packing smaller for like moto camping, so I think it's a good option too.
I still believe that if Camprite would figure out a way to make their tent cot line fold like 2 or 3 more times and be about the size of a suitcase, that'd be the ultimate moto camping solution.
Yeah, it doubles as a center stand.
Yeah, there you go. Got to have multiple uses when you're moto camping stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Every piece of gear has to have at least 2 uses. That's like my flask makes me feel a little bit better, and it makes it easier to sleep. That's the double duty.
Well, last and certainly not least is one of the favorite parts of the program. Had to lay her down.
Did you run into some clippings? Did Barb take the kids? Well, Hoss, maybe you had to lay her down.
All right, tonight's had to.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Tallboys and Technical Difficulties.
Hit the wrong button, my bad. This had to lay her down. Typical hitting a little bit of may have been some grass clippings on this clip. I'm not exactly sure. This guy's ripping some type. I can't remember if it's a KTM 450, like the old school EXC model, but definitely hit something. Had to lay her down. I like the camera mount. That it's a good view of that guy's butt, I guess.
Hey, buddy, I won't judge you.
He does seem to be moving pretty good. Ooh, high side, nose wheelie and down.
Front brake works.
Looks like it works a little too well, in my opinion.
Yep. It looked like he came into that turn just too hot. Couldn't save it.
Yep. Pays to know your area and your surroundings when you're coming up on turns like that. So.
Yep. Even especially, even in this state, even sections that you've ridden, sections of pavement stuff you've ridden. If it's rained recently, there's a lot of gravel and stuff gets washed out in turns and stuff, and pays to look ahead.
Yeah, it doesn't help when Barb took the kids and starts throwing grass clippings down the road as well.
Well, when we were in Brandywine, we got behind some kind of tractor pulling a trailer. Was it silage or something like that? Just spraying out all over the road.
Yeah.
Like soybean husks.
Yep.
That was a trip.
Yeah, those were some massive clippings you had to avoid behind that thing.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that does it for us tonight. Want to give a huge shout out to Brian Holmes and Lisa and Rob for coming on and talking about what's going on in our respective states and New Jersey. Like to thank the Country Roads Coalition for their work that they continue to do in the state. Proud to be a part of that, and looking forward to West Virginia Adventure Travel Day. We'll be down there, hopefully getting some good interviews and talking with everybody and promoting FDSR a little bit. Always a good time doing that.
Very excited for that.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll catch you next Tuesday.
Yep. We'll see you guys.
Have a good one.